I look a lot cooler because I have water. I'm more hipster and clean. Like, got that good lifestyle. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Not really, but okay.
You're still drinking coffee. Thanks for joining us this week again on something we don't know. We don't have a name for it yet, but we're just talking and uploading video of me and my brother talking about, honestly, the things that we talk about, that we always talk about whenever we get together. We live in different cities right now, so when we get together, we talk about certain things, and we're just recording it pretty much. So,
okay, I guess off topic before we get into the main topic that we're going to talk about. What is your thoughts on the last season of Game of Thrones? I know everybody who watches that show is looking forward to it, and everybody knows what we're talking about.
It's coming out in April, right?
April 24th, I think. I'm not
It's this
sure.
April, essentially, just a few months away. What did I think on the last season of Game of Thrones, like season 7?
What do you think about this one?
I don't know anything about this one. I'm very excited. There was nothing about the last season that made me upset about it. Nothing about the entire series that's made me upset about it. I mean, it is an amazing show, so I don't know.
Right here.
I'm glad Ramsay's dead.
The ultimate ending for you. Let me explain mine first.
Okay.
The ultimate ending.
So the ultimate ending for Game of Thrones.
I know this is kind of a little bit weird because they're related, but the ultimate ending for me is Jon Snow and Daenerys, yep. They get together and they rule over all of the kingdoms. So they're basically the highest rulers, the ones who get the throne, because I think they are the ones who deserve it the most, in my opinion.
I don't know, because it seems like the show started so, like, you don't know what's going to happen. But now that the show's diverted from the books a good bit, it seems like they're going more into that happy ending kind of narrative, which I hope they don't necessarily. I kind of want it to be, but I hope they don't, because that's the way it started. I don't want them to divert from that format, because that's what makes the show so great. So, I don't know how it's going to end. I would say, I don't know how I want it to end.
Do you think there's a theory that at the end it's going to end up with that guy, the book guy, I forgot his name because all these names in Game of Thrones. He's going to be reading the story. You mean
Sam?
About? Yes, Sam.
Like he's going to be reading the story?
He's going to be reading the story of Game of Thrones.
Do like it there and back again?
Almost, yeah.
Bilbo Baggins
there's
kind of
theory,
situation?
yeah.
No, that's not going to be. No, definitely not.
You don't think that's how it's going to end?
No, that's not how it's going to end. No way.
I mean, I don't think it probably will either, but I mean, it can go either way. Game of Thrones is not
That's just way off. That's definitely not going to end that way. But I don't know how it's going to end. I'm excited. I'm very excited for this April to start watching the final season. I'm sad that it's only going to have 6 episodes?
Yeah, 6 episodes.
I'm sad that it's going to be so short. I hope each episode's an hour and a half to 2 hours long, because I just want as much content as possible. But and I'm sad that we're coming to the final season, but it's something we've been waiting for forever. So I'm really excited about it. But that's all I have to say about it. I don't know how I want it to end, to be honest. It's Game of Thrones.
I mean, I think, in my opinion, I think that the wall's probably going to be destroyed by,
the wall's already destroyed.
I mean, yeah, it is. By the dragon, the ice dragon.
I'm sorry. Spoilers like crazy if you haven't seen season 7. Gosh, dang it.
That's something we should put at the beginning.
Yeah, for real.
Go watch it.
Yeah, we should put this at the top. Don't watch this because there's spoilers in it for Game of Thrones season 7. If you haven't seen it yet, go watch it. Because we open the show talking about what we think season 8 might be.
I think we should just stop our topic and just
get back on topic
of Game of Thrones.
No. We can't do that. We got to stay on topic at least a little bit.
Okay.
All right. So what we're wanting to talk about today a little bit, the general idea that we can dive into is, what was it? It's essentially what
our life experiences being, I guess, early 20s.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
finishing college and trying to get into life, starting a company, starting work.
Yeah.
How do we have to have somewhere to live and pay for that? But we're still trying to put money into starting this company, WiseWorks.
And like, how have we done number of projects and whatnot? Like, how have we paid for them and whatnot?
For right now, we're both working at.
Yeah.
I'm working at. It's called part-time job, but it's almost full-time, mostly full-time. And then he works a full-time job, and we're only doing WiseWorks stuff on the side
because we don't have income enough from WiseWorks to even give us part-time income. To be honest, it's still a very young company. Like, we're just figuring out how to make enough content to just be releasing stuff, let alone be making enough money to give us an income. So obviously that's going to come, but and if you're watching this, one of the ways that you can do that is for us to be able to create more content and to grow this company into what we want it to be in our vision. It's a great idea if you want to support us by subscribing and following us on Instagram and Facebook and whatnot. And then also just buying the movies when we release them. So that's a great way to support. But yeah, as of right now, we have to work. We have to work like everybody else. We don't have, and we're just doing life like everybody else. And all we're doing is trying to start a company because we have that entrepreneur mindset and that desire and that drive and whatnot.
I guess what's in a way, I guess, something that I can give other people knowledge. I know I heard somebody say kind of advice on for social media. You need to social media is a great way to promote your content, to get it out there. Maybe it's not like Instagram. Is that going to be something that will bring in money? Probably not.
Yeah.
But it can promote your stuff for people who are on Instagram and stuff. So how can you come up with enough content plus work and not get burned out? I know there's a thing, the YouTube burnout that people have.
Pretty popular.
And we're not really YouTubers, but we fit into that entertainment
content
stage.
Creator. I mean, this is content. It's so we're trying to make movies, but
not have that burnout. I know we just came out with a film not too long ago, and we could talk about close to the end. I mean, we could
talk about that burnout for a second.
Burned out. I mean, we were doing after we filmed and all the kind of post production. That was all on us. We didn't have editing crew or anything for like scoring or doing any of that. So it was all on us. I know kind of how we did it is we tried to split it up the best between us that we could. If you buy the DVD and if you won a copy, or that's going to be soon, we'll talk about who won the giveaway that we had a couple weeks ago.
You want to follow us on social media.
You'll see on the DVD that there's the film, but then there's also other things like there's a commentary, there's a behind the scenes called Behind Calvin, and an interview that we actually did with the Status Effect. Status Effect. With Zach Brackett and Justin.
Yeah, and the guy who played Cyrus, Paul Smart.
Yeah. And how we did that, we kind of broke it up between the two of us. I did all the kind of behind the scenes editing, kind of videoing stuff, and then he took the film kind of editing, and then I kind of you did a lot of the marketing
online and created that content as well as the behind the scenes commentary, all that different stuff that goes on the DVD, and then I was in charge of literally just editing the movie. Since I was directing it, I was also in charge of creating that vision through editing it together. Just because of that process of me having the vision and talking, being the one who communicated with the writer John Mark for Dying of the Leaves, it was really on me to create that through editing. And a lot of times directors, that's what they do. They are overseeing the editing. They might not be doing the physical editing the actual work, the labor and whatnot, but they're the ones that are overseeing the process. So they're the ones that are saying yes or no to something, you know, how it's cut together, how the music scores together. But even like the music scoring, that's something that I have no background or really good knowledge in doing. But there's programs out there that allows you to be able to, a consumer with someone who doesn't have a lot of experience, because technology is awesome these days, to be able to do a rough score for your short films.
They also have like, it's almost like a subscription to like almost Netflix, but for sites that they allow you subscribe to it and you can use their content. They come out with like, they have music and stuff you can also use. There's stuff like that.
Yeah. It's like a library of music that you can manipulate and everything. So it's pretty cool.
Another thing that, I mean, I know it was good for us to work together, that like when he did make something or I edited behind the scenes, that I would give it to him and he could kind of go over it, see what needed to be fixed, and then he would give it back to me and we kind of bounced it off each other.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go back real quick and talk some about that year process, because you started by saying give some like advice about how, or not advice, I don't know if we're in a position to give advice, but what just life is like, especially during production, because that was really difficult.
Yeah.
It was difficult production balancing those two things, because in the middle of editing, well, there was a lot happening that threw off the production schedule throughout the filming process. So we did about 3 months of pre-production, maybe a little bit more than that, of finding the cast and all that. And that was back in like
January was when we first started.
Yeah. Well, no, we started in November.
Okay, yeah.
And so the pre-production was happening like in July and August of 2018, right?
Yeah.
No, 2017.
17, yeah.
Yeah. And so because of that, it was just a really long process. So a lot happened throughout that time. People might call in sick in the last minute, and so we have a whole production day that we can't do anymore. And obviously, like we said, we have regular jobs, so really we're limited to our days off. So if we have a Saturday off, then we're out shooting all day.
And I want to kind of come in and say kind of what my experience was. I actually, at the time, I was working a third shift job, and I was working the weekend, so I would literally go to work at night at 2:00 in the morning, get off work at 7, come and literally drive to the shoot, and then film all day, get off around 5 or 6, sleep till about midnight, and then go back to work the next day.
Yeah,
and
that's rough.
That was my whole experience with with filming on Dying of the League.
We had about 8 production days, so 8 Saturdays of filming for that movie. And so it doesn't seem a lot if you're able to combine it into just a work week, but when you have to only do days off and days that work for all the cast and crew to be there to do it, it gets pretty spread out. So we filmed 1 Saturday in November, we filmed like 2 Saturdays in January, we filmed like 2 or 3 in February, and then leading into March, I think we did 1 in April at one point.
Yeah.
So it was just a long process, drawn out, because it was just week by week trying to make the schedule work to get all the filming done. So that was just a long process. It was over a semester of just random Saturdays filming, and constantly. So you'd have a couple weeks, and then you'd be out filming again all day Saturday. And then once I'm done with that, obviously just balancing, relationships and just regular work schedule. And it's hard to find the energy and the time to do all that. And then on top of it is finances. I mean, this film, I think that we had a budget of about close to $3,000, and about $1,800 to $1,900 of that went into our Blackmagic camera. So the quality went significantly higher from the previous film, The Hike, because we were just using a DSLR. And so when we got a chance to get a Blackmagic 4K camera, we were able to really bump up the quality of our recording, of our filming. And so because of that, it was an expensive purchase, and then also having to buy things online like the muskets and whatnot, the guns and the really cheap outfits that we had, just trying to make those dollars spread as much as possible just so we had the money, and all of that comes out of our pockets. All of it comes out of what we're able to give to the production. And us personally, like, we're working jobs all week and then taking a chunk of that money and putting it into this, what we need, that we're just going to buy once for a prop for this movie. And so because of that, it's a long process, and it's difficult, but it requires you to just love doing it, honestly. Because it's too much work, and it's too much of a hassle, and it's too much sacrifice personally, unless you like doing it. If you don't like doing it, you're not going to do it, because there's no point in doing it. It's difficult. It's freaking hard. Yeah. But it's if you love doing it and it's what you want to do as a career, then you're gonna make it work regardless. Even right now, we've grown. We've able to make more money with this film, actually creating entertainment. We've made more money with this film than we have ever made money actually creating entertainment content before. But at the same time, it's not a significant amount, and it's not something that's super substantial. It's a step in the right direction, but it's more than we were in the past. But at the same time, I'm not trying to be unthankful for it, but we're still in a similar situation where most of the future projects over the next couple years are probably going to be taken out of personal money and everything, because it's a long process that you have to love doing. Otherwise it's not going to work, you know?
Yeah. And just putting in the time, I know me working a second job and having to come there, that was a struggle. I mean, like not getting sleep. And I know there was days I was kind of grumpy, you know, from not getting sleep, and like, because that's my personality when I don't get sleep. Yeah. But I mean, it was good having each other to kind of take the brunt when one of us felt like we couldn't do much more than the other one, kind of to push off of each other.
Yeah, so far, I mean, you've been helping me out with films. I got into it a little bit earlier than you did, but since we've been working together, we've seen that the drive personally doesn't have to be as high, because usually, at least so far, one of us rises to the occasion when the other one is a little bit low. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, which is nice, because it allows you to be able to rely on each other. And so, like, even with the editing process, I was moving, I had switched up jobs in the middle of the summer, which was when I was doing the editing, and that required a lot of time difference. And so I wasn't able to get to editing the film as quickly and at getting it done as soon as I wanted to. And then also I moved, and so it was a long process throughout this whole summer. Everything kind of happened at once. So there was like 2 months, almost 2.5 months, where I didn't get any editing done at all. And that pushes the film back significantly. When we intended to be done a lot sooner, it came out a lot later than we originally planned. And that's just because you have to know how to balance life and work, but still have that drive. So it would have been super easy to just be like, my life is crazy right now, and this isn't worth it. But we had already put all this time into it, and I love this project. I wanted to see it done. So I am going to, even though we're late, we're going to finish it. And we're not going to necessarily cut corners on a final product and to not get that vision that we want just because it's a little late. I think we were probably like a couple months later than the original thing. And the reason we were later is not even necessarily, part of it's because of delays, but also there was just a long drawn out process of when it was getting close that we were just like, okay, we need to really focus and make sure this project is good, and we're not just trying to get it done with.
And that brings to another thing. There's no excuses for, I guess, not finding the time. I know we said we had other jobs and stuff, but if you just look at your time and map out what you're doing on an average day, how even an hour to 2 hours you're wasting because you're doing something that's not needed. If you just budget your time right to be able to do what you need to do to get stuff accomplished. I mean, if you did 30 minutes here, 30 minutes a day for a week is there's 7 days in a week. So
that's like 3.5 hours.
Yeah, you have 3 hours a week, only working 30 hours a week. I mean, 30
3.5 hours.
Yeah, 3 hour, 30 minutes a day.
Yeah.
So, just budging out your, looking at your time and scheduling.
Yeah, it can be significant. I mean, that's a good point, because you always do have. One thing that I usually say to Mackenzie, my wife, I always say, whenever one of us are feeling like we're just overwhelmed with how busy we are, we always will remind each other that there's always more time than we think there is. So when we think that I have to be at a meeting at this time and then I have to do something else, or I have to go to another meeting, or I have to have a project done by this time, if you just take a breath and just think through it, usually projects or little tasks throughout your day aren't going to take as long as you think. And if you just remind yourself, I have more time than I think I do, then it allows you to be able to open up and be like, okay, how am I actually going to use this time wisely, instead of just freaking out about how you don't have any time. You can get in a real negative space when you're thinking so much about how I don't have any time, or how the days are just flying by, because you're focusing so much on what you're not getting done, instead of just saying, I have more time than I think. I'm going to focus on this task right now and do this well.
So to kind of close it all off, what would be kind of, I guess we're saying, what's the big thing?
The takeaway? I don't know.
Schedule time, I guess.
I would just say maybe a couple things. One, it's okay to have delays. If you're doing a project, if you're doing something that you love, you're going to be dedicated to getting it accomplished, even if it takes a lot of work. If you find yourself that you don't love doing it, don't bother with it. Just do something else that you love doing. Mm-hmm. For us, it's filmmaking.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is probably just remind yourself you have more time, and just focus on budgeting your time well throughout a day to help be productive each day. It doesn't have to be a lot of time, but even a little bit of time every day can add up into something that makes a real difference, instead of just freaking out and doing nothing.
Yeah. So, I guess do that, and that's how you get successful.
Yes. And we're hoping. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.